Hi there. I'm Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks, and this is Grow. I'm so happy to welcome you tonight. And tonight I'm going to talk about Mueller, right?
Mueller.
Floods, preparation, and intuition. What's the connection?
Mm.
And I bet you do not have an immediate sense of what I'm going to talk about. And guess what? Neither do I. But before we go on to the show, let me introduce you to sweet baby James, who's going to introduce you to us.
Yes, indeed. Well, it's good to see everybody. Yes, this is Granny Rocks Our World, otherwise known as Grow. And this airs every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, where Granny shares her wit, her wisdom, and her uncommon sense. So, and here's Granny.
Hi there. Well, first of all, we have two wonderful hellos already. One is from Erica, hello, and hello back. And another is from Anna. Hello, Anna, you've become a regular. I love it. Just so happy to see you. So, and Amy says, hi, you two sweet people. That's what she thinks.
Sweet as a sweet seas.
Okay. This is an odd topic, isn't it? I mean, Mueller, floods, preparation, intuition, what's the connection? Oh, hello, Simone from New Mexico. Well, hello back to New Mexico.
And hello, Helen.
And hello, Helen. So happy to see you, too. So sometimes people are hiding behind the camera, but I can't see who they are. Anyway, I'm so happy to see all of you. So what I want to talk about tonight is it sort of starts with the question of preparation versus intuition. You know, people get the idea of like, oh, I'm intuitive, so it's just going to come to me in the moment, and so, you know, I don't have to prepare. Well, I mean, that's true. I don't prepare. Usually I don't prepare. Every once in a while, it's like an idea comes to me, a random thought. Ooh, I think tonight I should talk about, right. You know, it happens. And there are times when I, really prepare, but very rarely. It's because I'm very intuitive. But what is the connection between intuition and preparation? Anybody? Anybody get an idea? Well, before you even have a chance to speak, I'm going to tell you. We have to be prepared to be intuitive. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you want to play the piano and you see these great musicians. They just sit there and they just exude, right? And it's just amazing.
Artistry.
Artistry, and you can just feel it. It's like in the moment they're just, and so you think, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to exude too, right? Well, you may not have the preparation to exude, because if you don't have a lot of preparation, you can't play the piano. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, you may say, oh, I'm going to be doing my art, and it's just going to be intuitive and it's going to be gorgeous. Yes, but maybe, you need to practice a little bit in order to have some kind of control over your pen. I know for sure that if I were doing it, it would just come out like shit and not like intuition at all. So you take somebody like Albert Einstein, who talked about inspiration and intuition, but he was a scientist. He'd already done all his preparation. He understood what he was working with. And that preparation, guys, is what prepares us to be inspired and to be intuitive. So I don't mean that it never happens, that just out of the blue you get an intuitive hit. I have had a lot of that because I'm very intuitive. It's like, oh, I don't know anything about this. And suddenly I think, oh, the world is going to end at 6:45. Well, it's not going to end at 6:45, I don't think, at least not tonight. But you know what I'm saying? That does happen. But I have to be prepared psychically, you see, in order to be even able to receive the message that the world is going to end at 6:45. Hello, Luann. Glad to see you. Mm-hmm. So, let's see. I think there may be some more people chatting with us. Hi, Aryeh. Welcome, welcome. So what we see is we have this idea that there is a duality between preparation and spontaneity. of preparation and intuition. And actually, there isn't. You may have to be prepared technically, you have to be prepared scientifically, you have to be prepared emotionally in order to be able to handle things intuitively. Now, just think about that for a minute. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. No, don't smoke. Don't smoke. Okay. So I may come into this program and say, gee, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. But I've spent 74 years preparing to be able to sit here and intuit what I'm getting from the universe. Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so that makes sense to everybody. Yay. All right, so what does that have to do with Mueller and floods? Well, how many of us are already preparing ourselves for our reaction to the Mueller report? Not in the good way, yes?
Oh, I am. Yeah. I'm sure it's going to confirm all of my suspicions about what's been going on.
Now, supposing the Mueller report, first of all, isn't going to be published fully, right? And supposing he doesn't take on the issue of, I hate Trump. I hate Trump. So maybe he talks about all these other things, and you actually have to read through page after page after page, and then you have to turn to CNN or Fox News or something to interpret for you what the heck Mueller actually said. So what is our spiritual and emotional preparation for the Mueller report? For many of us, it's nothing. For many of us, it's just a bunch of prejudices and assumptions that we're bringing in. I don't call that preparation. I call that prejudice and assumptions. So supposing it doesn't say what we wanted to say about Donald Trump doesn't mean that it isn't true what we're thinking about Donald Trump, but it may not say that. Or supposing it says something negative about Donald Trump and we don't believe it and we're all upset. So are we prepared to deal with this in an objective way, or are we already preparing our reaction to the thing that we don't even know what it's going to be? The other day, I just saw this poll. I couldn't believe it. It made me sick. And the poll said that half of the American people think that the Mueller probe is a witch hunt. Now, how do they know that? Well, because they've been preparing all their prejudices. And the media has preparing us. So, yeah, we're prepared, but not in the best way. So that's a kind of funny. Yes, Erica says so hard to be neutral. Absolutely. It takes spiritual and emotional preparation to be neutral, doesn't it?
Yes.
Now, let's talk about the flooding. As we know, there's been the cyclone bomb, and then there's endless flooding in the Midwest, and people are suffering. In fact, it's getting to the point that we don't even pay any attention. It's like, oh yeah, there's so much suffering. There's so many problems. There's so much. Oh, could this be climate change? Not again. Oh no, we're going to talk about climate change again. Now, are we prepared to deal with the realities of climate change? How many of us are? Some of us are completely hysterical, and we're going to be moving into underground bunkers in order to deal with climate change. Or we're going to move out of the area where we think climate change is going to be, because we haven't figured out yet that climate change is going to be everywhere, right? Or we're already preparing our defense. The climate has always changed, right? You see, we are not really prepared. I think that what's been very interesting for many of us, and no, I'm not going to do a life force again tonight because I still have this damaged rib and it's really hard for me to get out of the chair. So instead of stumbling out and falling, which I am not prepared to do again, have another fall, I'm just going to talk and we'll see what else we can do. But what we saw was the people in New Zealand were not prepared for this mass shooting at the mosque, were they?
2 mosques.
At the 2 mosques. But they were prepared as a society to deal with the trauma.
Yeah.
We are not prepared. We are always in emergency mode. My life is so stressful. My problems are so oppressive. We are in the moment just overwhelmed, and we don't have the spiritual, mental, and emotional preparation to deal with the never ending, or it seems like the never ending traumas that come into our lives. You know, the same thing can happen to two people and they have completely different responses. Oh, I'm not saying that if I were shot at that it wouldn't be very traumatic. But if I happen to be one of the people who is emotionally stable, then I am much more likely to recover from that than for somebody who's already traumatized. I mean, they're already prepared to be traumatized. In fact, all they have to do is think about it and they're traumatized, right? So we can be prepared in a very bad way, which means that we're already prepared for the worst to happen. Oh, so many of us are like that. Or some of us are totally prepared to be Pollyanna and pretend that nothing is happening. Is that preparation? So all of this started from me thinking about intuition and preparation, right? So what I'm saying to us is we need to become more prepared. And one of the ways that we are prepared is by relying on one another. What they said about the people in New Zealand is they have a lot of cohesion as a society. And they came together, they saw a problem, and they said, we are going to do something about that problem.
And they did.
And they did. Now, what's the difference between that and those of us who are droning on, still trying to figure out whether assault weapons are really necessary for hunting? Or that is this really the Second Amendment issue, right? So what we do is we prepare our reactions. We already think we know what's going to happen. We already have an opinion about that. And we are prepared to be angry, to be overwhelmed, to be resistant. We are prepared for that. We are not prepared. Now, what would it mean to be emotionally and spiritually prepared? It means that we are connected to ourselves. We are connected to one another. We are connected to possibilities. We're connected to our common sense. We're connected to that part of us that is stable. That's preparation.
Mm.
So we've looked at a couple of ways in which we prepare. One is we become, oh, Debbie said hi to you, just love your live post. Thank you. I'm so glad that you do. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that you're enjoying the show. So we're looking at different kinds of preparation. One is to be technically, educationally prepared. Educationally prepared means we have the understanding, the background, the history to understand what people are feeling and why they're doing what they're doing. We don't just say, oh, those dirty Central Americans, they're bombarding our border again. We understand what's happening in those nations. We understand what has happened to the indigenous people in our own nation. We understand what it's like to be poor. We understand what it's like to be Black. We understand what it's like to be white, to be a woman, to be a man, to be a trans, to be gay. We educate ourselves. We are prepared. And that's a different kind of education than what Einstein had in terms of his ability to hear his intuition. But we need the same thing. We need education. We need knowledge instead of opinions in order to be emotionally prepared to understand what happened. I will give you one more example. During 9/11, 9/11, I mean, not 9/11, I had studied the history of women in the Middle East and Africa, and I, not at that point, but I had in years, past, and I knew something about the history of the West in the Middle East. And so when this happened, I was way more prepared than most people. Did not take me by surprise that the World Trade Center was being attacked. because I had the knowledge and the background to understand and to put it in perspective. So let us get the technical knowledge we need. Let us get the information that we need. Let us become informed, and let us let go of preparing our arguments and our opinions before we get our information. And with that preparation, we can face whatever happens and open ourselves up to the intuitive guidance that we desperately need in those moments when we just don't know what to do, where to go, and what is the right direction for the highest good of all. So send me your comments. And I also want to tell you that next Wednesday, we are launching Growth. Granny Rocks Our World to Heal. And you can now go onto our Facebook page and see the event. Go to the events and you'll see an event called Growth. And you click on it and you can register for a free growth session and join us for a conversation that we will be having that will be guided by me intuitively without any obvious preparation, but with all the preparation in the world, because I have been prepared all my life to connect to people, to understand people, to be neutral, and to help people. That is the preparation that I bring. And the preparation that you bring is your open-heartedness, your curiosity, and your interest. And so you can come once for free, and then you can decide whether or not you want to sign up for a 3-month stint. And then you can always renew it or do anything you want. And also we're doing, tomorrow is the...
Might I say that the growth will start shortly after this show, start at 7 p.m. Pacific time.
On Wednesdays.
Wednesdays. Just
Wednesdays
Wednesdays.
only. And it will cover, thank you, James, and it will cover the Friday, the Monday, and the Wednesday that we're meeting. And then also I'm doing a train, Helen said, great topic. Thank you, honey. And then I'm also doing an intuition training series starting on April 20th. And the cutoff date for the discount is tomorrow. So please take a look also at the events on the Granny Rocks on Facebook page and see if you're interested in the intuition training. We need that intuition, and we need to be prepared to access the intuition. I help everybody to learn to be more prepared to access intuition, which we desperately need in our world, not only as counselors, but also in our personal relationships. And finally, we're having a retreat here in Oregon in May.
First weekend in May.
And it'll be in person. I'd love that. If you can, come and you look at the event so you'll see those. So there's a lot to do, and please like this show or love the show or share the show or comment on the show and make this show alive and spread out the word to people who never think about these things, but who believe they're prepared because they already have an opinion, which is not the case. So thank you so much for joining us today. And you are the best. You give me a boost, and you are the lifeblood of this program. So please keep coming back and tell all your friends. Yes. So until Monday, have a great weekend.
Yeah, bye for now.
Bye for now.
Thanks for coming.